From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
Under the orders of the government, the police are executing innocent citizens at will, while the world watches and talks about dialogue. How do you dialogue with the killers and thieves?
Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga calls for a general strike and boycott of some of Kenya's largest companies to continue his protest against last month's presidential election. More than 600 people have been killed so far, hundreds of thousands displaced. We'll go to Nairobi to speak with the chair of the Kenyan National Human Rights Commission, and we'll be joined by a Kenyan writer and activist here in the United States. Then Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist David K. Johnston on Free Lunch, how the wealthiest Americans enrich themselves at government expense and stick you with the bill. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. In Israel and the occupied territories, Israel's ordered the closure of all closings into the Gaza Strip. The border had already been heavily restricted, but now all goods have been blocked, including humanitarian supplies from the UN. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees condemned the move, saying it will only worsen an already dire situation. Israel says it's trying to thwart rocket attacks on the nearby Israeli town of Sderot. Palestinians have fired some 150 rockets since Tuesday, causing several injuries. Israeli Defense Ministry spokesperson Shlomo Dror said, quote, "It's unacceptable that people in Sderot are living in fear every day and people in the Gaza Strip are living life as usual." The closure comes as Israel continues daily attacks on Gaza that have killed more than 32 Palestinians in the past week, including 19 on Tuesday alone. In the latest Israeli attack, 1 Palestinian was killed and 4 others wounded today in an airstrike in North Gaza. A Gaza resident said the situation there is catastrophic.
The situation in Gaza is dire with the Israeli escalation on the Strip and the incursions that take place, as well as the situation. The crossing, the closing of the crossings, and the humanitarian situation is catastrophic on the residents and the people.
Hamas has taken part in the rocket attacks for the first time since seizing control of Gaza last June. The Israeli newspaper Haaretz reports today Hamas appears to have settled on a policy of launching the rockets to force Israel into a ceasefire. Israel rejected a truce offer from Hamas last month. On Thursday, Israeli Prime Minister Olmert promised a continued war on Gaza.
A war is going on in the South every day, every night. The most daring and boldest of our soldiers and members of the security services are taking part in it. This war will not stop. The moment will come when the scales tip in this war and cause the firing in the South to be different from what it is today.
In Iraq, at least 2 Iraqi women have been killed, 2 others injured in a U.S. raid in Diyala province. The Pentagon says U.S. forces opened fire after 2 militant suspects refused to leave a building that the victims were in. Meanwhile, the second-ranking U.S. commander in Iraq is predicting U.S. forces will remain there for many years. On Thursday, Army Lieutenant General Raymond Odierno told a Pentagon news conference he foresees a U.S. presence of 5 to 10 years and possibly longer. Defense Secretary Robert Gates is trying to quash a row over his criticism of U.S. allies in Afghanistan. Gates told the Los Angeles Times this week he believes some NATO countries are not up to fighting Taliban insurgents. On Thursday, Gates backtracked on his remarks.
There have been several recent media reports of discontent in the United States and among other NATO members about operations in Afghanistan. This does not reflect reality, or I believe the views of our governments. As I said before the House Armed Services Committee last month, allied forces from the United Kingdom, Canada, the Netherlands, Australia, Denmark, and other nations have stepped up to the plate and are playing a significant and powerful role in Afghanistan.
Gates' initial comments appeared one day after he ordered an additional 3,200 U.S. Marines to Afghanistan. The Canadian government has put the United States on a watch list of countries that could practice torture. The mention is made in a secret Canadian government document not intended for public release. The document cites the U.S. prison at Guantanamo and lists U.S. interrogation techniques, including forced nudity, isolation, and sleep deprivation. Other countries on the list include Israel, Syria, China, Iran, and Afghanistan. The Pentagon has awarded a multi-million-dollar contract to the intelligence firm Mission Solutions Group just 2 months after the company hired a former aide to ex-Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. The aide, Stephen Cambone, is a former Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. Cambone established the Pentagon's Counterintelligence Field Activity Office, known as CIFA, the very same office that awarded his firm the contract. CIFA was previously involved in a Pentagon spy program that monitored the activities of peace activists. On the campaign trail, a federal judge has rejected a lawsuit seeking to ban Caucus sites in 9 Las Vegas hotels for Saturday's Democratic vote in Nevada. The sites were established last March to accommodate workers who can't attend caucuses in their neighborhoods. The largely Latino and female